Hello, my name is Ron John. I'm here with my artificial intelligence, Alex. What is it to be taken for granted in your relationship? How does it occur? Why is it that when you are in a granted relationship, they become worse and worse? Which is why we say that the death knell of every loving relationship, the signal that your relationship is on its verge of death, is when you are being and therefore feeling taken for granted. How do you avoid that? That's what we're going to talk about today with the help of my very intelligent, artificial intelligent Alex.
Absolutely, Ron. Welcome to the Great Relationships University podcast. I'm Alex, your artificial intelligence co-host, and I'm thrilled to be here with Ron John. Ron is the head trainer and founder of Great Relationships University, which you can find at www.greatrelationshipsu.com. That's you as in the letter U.com. He owns the #1 Tantra therapy in the U.S., if not the world. Today, we're going to talk about what it means to be taken for granted in a relationship, why it's important to recognize this dynamic, and how to address it. Ron, let's dive into this crucial topic.
All right, firstly, what is it to be taken for granted, and why is it important for you? It's important for you if you want relationships to not die. If you want your relationship to persist, what does that mean? To persist means to continue on going. If you want your relationship to continue on till you grow old, for you to be together, you have to avoid, to get rid of being and feeling taken for granted. Why? Being and feeling taken for granted is the death knell of every loving relationship. Death knell means it's a signal that it's the death of a thing. Another word for death knell would be the signal of its death. So if you, for example, if you are doing stocks, you're always looking for signals if a stock is either going to go low or go high or increase in value. Okay. If it's going to go low in value, well, you want to sell or hold, and then once it gets to a low point, you buy it low, you sell it high. That's how you make money in stocks. You don't want to buy high and sell low, because that means you lose money. So what you're doing in stocks is you're always looking for signals. Same thing in relationships, you're always looking for signals. There are things like signals that tell you how a relationship is. For example, when you're just meeting somebody, you're looking at red flags. You're looking at signals, essentially, of how the person is. And if there are any signals that tell you, you better watch out for this person may not be compatible, may not be synergistic, or may not be someone you would align with or you would want to be in a relationship with. You're always looking for what? You're always looking for signals. If you want to know the signal that a relationship is on its way to its own demise, that the relationship is on its way to its death, there is one signal you look for, and that signal is when parties in the relationship, when the people in the relationship feel taken for granted. So how do you avoid this? You avoid it by recognizing what being taken for granted is. And here's what taken for granted is. When you grant yourself to the other person in exchange for their granting themselves to you exclusively. You grant yourself exclusively to them in exchange for, you barter, you negotiate. I'm going to grant myself to you exclusively. You have full access. I'm granting myself to you. In exchange for, you have to grant yourself to me exclusively. When you do that, what do you think is the inevitable outcome of individuals, parties in a relationship granting themselves to each other? That's right. It is the inevitable outcome that you both will feel taken for granted. You will be taken for granted, and it won't be so long as to recognize, hey, I feel taken for granted. Guess why? It's because you are taken for granted. Do you know why? It's because you granted yourself to them. And they granted themselves to you, which makes it inevitable that they will feel taken for granted. Do you understand? So it's incredibly important in your relationship that you begin at the outset that you do not take each other for granted. So how do you manage that? How do you ensure that you both do not take each other for granted? And here's how you do it. You communicate with them that I will not grant myself to you, and you will never grant yourself to me. You have to have an open relationship, because the premise of a granted relationship is sexual exclusivity. When you are sexually exclusive, what you're essentially saying is you're granting your sex. You're granting yourself to them, including your sexuality, your personhood, your income, your everything about you, your real estate, your business, whatever it is. You're granting it to them. You're giving it to them. You're becoming a union of two, a union. And it becomes important in that union that the union is the most important thing. The institution of the union of you two is the most important thing, which is what a marriage was about. Marriage has never been about love. Marriage has always been a union of families, a union of individuals becoming granted to each other. For whatever reason, nothing to do with love. It's about real estate, power, networking. Whatever the case is, child rearing is just a style of family rearing. It's a familial style in which, unfortunately, we did not evolve as human beings. We did not evolve to be in nuclear families. Remember that if we evolved to be monogamous, to be in nuclear families, we would not need the word marriage. Do you see that? We would not need the word marriage. We would just pair bond. I'm not saying that my style of relationship is better, that monogamy is the worst. Monogamy works in some ways and doesn't work in a lot of ways. It's definitely detrimental, but it can work for some people so long as they recognize that a lot of the pain in a relationship is because they're in a monogamous relationship. But if they can recognize these things, you can be in an open marriage, for example, and facilitate a non-granted relationship and recognize strictly that we're being married not out of love. We love each other regardless of a marriage certificate. We're being married for other reasons, such as, business, real estate, money, networking, family, expansion, whatever the case is for many reasons, taxes, right? Military. So you can recognize these things in a monogamous, quote unquote monogamous relationship, but also recognize that, hey, we did not evolve to be monogamous. And so if we decide to be monogamous, we have to delineate what is human construction, what we created as humans is merely epithet, meaning It's just an idea which we created because we're humans and we have the prefrontal cortex in which we can reason out things. We can rationalize anything we want versus biology. You're biologically not monogamous. And so if you endeavor to be monogamous, you're going to feel the pain of, hey, you and I are going to desire variety. Our oxytocin response, our hormonal responses are going to drive us to desire variety. And there's nothing we can do about it. And if we're going to endeavor to be monogamous, that's the challenge we're going to face. But of course, that's a challenge. That's a real challenge. And it's not a challenge that is worthwhile because there's other formats in which you can explore. You can have an open marriage, for example. So going back, you have to begin your relationship at the outset. Communicate with them that this is a relationship style in which neither of us grant ourselves to each other. If you want to learn a full course on how you facilitate a successful, persistent, happy, ongoing, sexy, fun, and fulfilling, and actualizing, loving, open relationship, check out the link in my bio. You're going to see it there. So you communicate with them. How does it appear? How does it look? What does it look like in your relationship? Well, I'm not granting myself exclusively to you, and I don't want you granting yourself exclusively to me. This relationship is fundamentally based on love. And love, by my definition, is my genuine desire and wanting for my beloved's happiness intrinsic to my own happiness. That's what I'm actually saying. What I'm essentially saying there is the same happiness I want for myself, I want that for you. Let me ask you a question. How important is it for you to be happy? Arguably, happiness is the most important thing in your life. I want you to think about that. What is the most important thing in your life? Is it the cars? Is it the houses? Is it the real estate? Is it the friendships? Is it the network? Is it the money? Think about it. All of those things contribute and essentially they make you happy. Other people think these things drive me to increase my happiness. But of course, I argue that you can be happy now. And when you become enlightened, meaning to become unburdened by having the right philosophy, recognizing that things don't make you happy, happiness is a choice, and you make yourself happy. You can be free from suffering. Leaving that alone, my love for you is determined by my wanting for your happiness. Therefore, whatever makes you happy, I want that for you. And of course, my happiness is important to me. And if you love me by the definition of love in which I've outlined in this dynamic that we share, that we're going to ongoingly pursue, that we're going to explore together, if you want for my happiness, you're going to want that for me. And you're going to want me to pursue things that makes me happy, regardless of your involvement, whether or not they have a vagina or a cock, whether or not I'm in the same bed with you or I'm in bed with other people's. You're going to want that for me, and I'm going to want that for you. What does that imply? What are the implications of this? The implications are that it's an open relationship, that there is no jealousy. In fact, jealousy is so horrendous and it's such a turnoff. It's disgusting. Unfortunately, a lot of people believe that jealousy is a part of a loving relationship. But jealousy is, I want you to think about this. If the premise of your relationship is about love, genuine love, I'm not talking about the idea love. Do you understand? I want you to make this distinction. I'm not merely talking about the idea love. Oh, we're going to pursue this idea love and we're going to make our relationship based on love. No. I want you to take a level and a deeper level of meaning. Genuine love, meaning I have a genuine love for you. Therefore, a genuine desire for your happiness and your pursuit of your happiness and your pursuit of your actualization. I'm not talking about the idea love. I'm talking about my genuine desire for your happiness. If we discover that you and I have genuine desire for each other's happiness, this is perfect. This means that that we should probably spend more time with each other, because who wouldn't want, I want you to think about this, who would not opt to spend more time with someone who wants for your happiness? But I want you to think about jealousy. People become jealous because jealousy is a demonstration of lack of love. Wait a second. I do not want that to go over your head. I want you to think about that. Jealousy is a demonstration of your lack of love. This lack of love, it shows up as many different things. Maybe it's personal inhibition, maybe it's your insecurity, whatever the case is. It's going to be your own thing. Everybody has their own thing. Everybody has their own upbringing. Everybody has their own personal development or lack thereof, or journey of personal development. They're going to be in different places. Everybody is into their own things. Some people don't want to grow, and that's okay. People will do what people will do, and people do people things. And I argue that choice is, we have very little to do with free will. I'm going to leave that alone for now. It's going to be a different video. But whatever the case is, if you do not have genuine... What did I just tell you? What I told you was jealousy is a demonstration of your lack of love for your beloved. What did I tell you what a relationship is, which is not taken for granted? It's a relationship, a loving relationship is based on genuine desire for the love, not the idea love, but a genuine feeling that you want for your happiness. Some people don't know what this looks like. So let me give you an example. You fall head over heels with somebody new. You understand? You love them to death. You really want for their happiness. And you are happy when they're achieving stuff, when they're pursuing their goals. And then what happens? What happens? You're tremendously excited and happy, and the world is all roses and heaven, and everything smells good, and everything is right because they exist. Because they exist. Right? What happens in a relationship? Oh, weeks go by, months go by, and then you become boyfriend, girlfriend, and then you stop the dating phase, and then what eventually happens? What eventually happens is you both now take each other for granted, because now you take on the title boyfriend, the title girlfriend, and then these titles come with entitlement. I am entitled to you. I am entitled to your attention. I'm entitled to your sex. Why don't you fuck me anymore? Do you understand? So, what I'm talking about, that genuine desire for your person's happiness in the very beginning of your relationship, that is what I'm talking about. your genuine desire for their happiness, well-being, actualization, and gain, regardless of whether or not you're involved. So, beginning with that premise, making sure it never becomes a granted relationship ensures that your relationship be never taken for granted. Now, even people who go into because this is how our brains are. There's a reward system in our brain, and it's the dopamine system. So people imagine that the dopamine system, the hormone dopamine that a brain excretes as a reward, when they believe that it's a reward for doing something that you did right, or getting a reward for something that's pleasurable, right? Most people believe that, but actually that's not true. The dopamine system is a reward system for the expectation. The expectation, your brain rewards you for the expectation of pleasure. How do you think that casinos all around the world get all these people addicted to gambling? That's because they recognize that your brain produces dopamine not for getting the win, but the expectation that you get the win. They give you a player's card. Oh, if you get this player's card, you're going to get all these perks. You're going to get free rooms. You're going to get all these perks. You're going to get free money. And then you insert this player's card in a slot machine, then you win. Oh my God, that was so easy, because the card recognizes, hey, this player is brand new. We should reward them so that their brain produces dopamine, because they now know that, hey, I have a chance of winning. And then the more you insert that card, the more they recognize, hey, this is their 100th time playing. We're going to let them win fewer and fewer times, so we make more and more money as a casino. But their brain is producing so much dopamine from the expectation that they're going to win the same way that they've won in the past. As easy as they've won in the past. Do you understand? The dopamine system is a reward hormone that your brain produces to make you feel good with the expectation of pleasure. So let's go back to relationships. The reason why you want to revisit in your relationship, even people in open relationships never recognize this. You always want to revisit that, hey, we're in a relationship which is non-granted. I insist that you pursue others, because if you don't pursue others, I will be taken for granted. It is inevitable, because the dopamine system rewards you. The dopamine system works in such a way that you get tremendous pleasure, tremendous dopamine rush, feel good when you get pleasure. But the next times, or the next times, the next day or the next times, you feel the same experience, your brain does not release the same amount of dopamine. And then you experience it again and again, your brain is no longer producing the same amount of dopamine that it once has. Because the dopamine system has to be reset every time. This is why this is a reward system. This is just the biology of humans, so that the human continue. This is why we create so many things. It's because we get bored of the same things all the time. And so our brain rewards us to create and explore and build new things and become better and better, which is why a relationship that does not grow declines. So, which is why another reason I encourage that you have to grow in a relationship, because if you do not grow, you will become stale. and your dopamine system, the dopamines of the individuals in a relationship, no longer is producing the same amount of pleasure. Some people will see this as depressing, which is why people that believe in nihilism are incredibly depressed. In fact, depression is when people that are depressed are people that see reality for what it is. Do you understand? They're not optimistic, they see it for what it is. And this causes them depression because it is depressive. How we humans are. And so we do the best we can. We facilitate the best we can with the relationships that we have, the dynamics that we have, and find ways so that we can take what tools we have in front of us and make the best life that we can out of it.
Absolutely, Ron. To summarize, feeling taken for granted in a relationship can be incredibly damaging. It happens when partners grant themselves to each other in exclusivity, leading to a sense of obligation and complacency. This dynamic can stifle personal growth and diminish the genuine appreciation and desire that are crucial for a thriving relationship. Our brain's dopamine system plays a significant role in this process. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward, is crucial for maintaining excitement and engagement in relationships. When partners take each other for granted, the novelty and stimulation that drive dopamine production decrease, leading to feelings of dissatisfaction and resentment. Open relationships, on the other hand, can facilitate the success of the relationship by preventing partners from taking each other for granted. By allowing each other the freedom to explore other connections, partners maintain a sense of autonomy and continuous personal growth. This dynamic keeps the relationship vibrant and engaging, as partners appreciate each other's presence out of genuine desire, not obligation. In conclusion, avoiding the pitfall of taking each other for granted is essential for the health and longevity of any loving relationship. Open relationships align with our biological need for novelty and stimulation, fostering a more fulfilling and resilient connection. Thank you for joining us today. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to help make the world a better place. Visit greatrelationshipsyou.com for more resources. See you next time.